what I call the secret to success in life. And it's really three things, all right? You can say three pairs of things. So the very first thing, dream big and take chances. So I've got 4 daughters. Shelby is the youngest of 4. And they've all heard me say this. I've said this to a lot of young adults many times, but probably more to my kids than any of the young adults. The single biggest obstacle between where you are and where you aspire to be is your own ability to believe that it's possible. And I've got some pictures, and I'll make some connections to when I was a kid. But sometimes you believe that this is my lot in life. This is as good as it gets. This is my destiny. I'm supposed to be here in this little box, and that bigger box is for somebody else. Erase that from your brain. The second you accept basic, or this is as good as it gets, the rest is just a formality. Don't believe that. Anything is possible. And I'll show you some pictures of some things that when I was a kid, I would have never thought were possible. Number 2, be practical and calculating in doing so, but take chances, especially when you're young. The older you get, typical things happen. I've got a spouse, I got a mortgage, I got a car payment, I got 2.4 kids. Quitting my job to start a business probably was a little bit too risky. When I was 28, I didn't have any kids yet. You know, I had a mortgage, I had a car payment, but you know, you could sell houses and sell cars. But my risks in taking that chance, there were some, there's always risks. But there were risks I could recover. But taking that chance, as I said earlier, changed my life. So number 1, dream big and take chances. Number 2, focus on time usage, not time quantity. The most common excuse people give in life, and you've all given it and you've all heard it, is I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. Think about how ridiculous that excuse is. Everybody gets 168 hours. Every person on the planet gets 168 hours. Bill Gates doesn't get more than you. They all get the same. This isn't a quantity issue. It's got nothing to do with quantity. That's an easy way to deflect responsibility, because the responsibility of time is you. It has to do with focus. It has to do with determination. It has to do with efficiency. If you want to play Xbox all day, that's your choice. You can use your time how you want. If you want to study, if you want to read, if you want to be a life learner, if you want to start a business, that's also your choice. It's got nothing to do with quantity. Of all the variabilities, think about this, approximately 7.5 billion people on this planet, with all kinds of variables in height, strength, financial wherewithal, education. But everybody gets the exact same amount of time. Every one of us. Quantity of time is not the reason. How effectively do you use your time? That is the issue. And that's on you. 168 hours a week, that's it. Number 3, this is the last slide of the success my advice for success in life. And this is the money slide. And this to me, those of you who've heard me speak before, if you were at Business World last year, I oftentimes have embed my personal opinions on politics, commerce, society. This to me is where we have problems in society, right? But this isn't about society, this is about each of you. Accept the hand you're dealt and own how you play. So I'll make some connections to my own childhood. So you had no say-so in the hand you were dealt. We didn't pick our parents, we didn't pick our hometown. You know, I'm left-handed, I'm 5'9", I love baseball, I love math, I didn't pick any of that stuff, right? It's the hand I was dealt. I love basketball too, I wish I was 6'9", but I'm not, right? So you're dealt a hand. And if you know anything about five-card stud poker, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 is the worst hand you can get. So sometimes we self-loathe. Oh, I'm looking at all these disadvantages that I have. And that was me when I was a kid, right? I was always focusing on what I didn't have. And I'll show some pictures that will give some clarity to that. Don't compare yourself to others. A lot of times that's what we do, especially when we're young. The kid who's got the new car driving to school, or somebody who's got nicer clothes, we compare. I think it's just the way humans are wired. But that's what we do, is we compare. We never compare ourselves to the person who's worse off. We always compare ourselves to the person who has something we don't, right? Whether that's just natural humanity, I don't know, but it's what we do. It's easy to play the victim, the woe is me card, right? Woe is me. We all have friends on social media. Woe is me. Some message about how horrible their life is, or how something tragic happened, right? there's three things. There's not much I can guarantee, but I will guarantee you this. If you decide you want to be the victim in your life, three things are mathematical certainty. Number one, you will find somebody to blame. Guarantee it. It's easy, right? Oh, it's my dad, it's the school, it's my government, or it's whatever. Number one, you'll find somebody to blame. Number two, it's never going to be yourself. And number three, you're never going to live your best life. It's not possible. Because while time is finite, so is energy. So you've got a certain amount, fixed amount of time and energy, and you could use that bettering your hand, or you could use that for maintaining your hand and being the victim. And the last thing, gratitude is the antidote to bitterness and resentment. So, my father passed away in December, a little less than a year ago. When I was a kid, I resented my upbringing. We didn't have money. We didn't have nice things. I was mad at my dad. I was mad at my parents. I was bitter. At some point in time in my 20s, not exactly sure when, and not 100% even sure why, I changed my perspective. And I think part of it was as I realized, while I was comparing the things that I didn't have to other people, there was a long list of things that I did. When I was a kid, my dad made sure we went to school. We always had a bed to sleep in. We always had food on the table. We learned the value of work ethic and doing the right thing. And I realized, wow, I'm surrounded by people, I will outwork anybody. And that was a byproduct of our upbringing. So I started to realize all the gifts that I got from my childhood and started to become grateful as opposed to bitter. And it really changed my life. Instead of taking all that time and energy and focusing on being mad, I started focusing on playing my hand, the hand I was dealt, which was a much better hand than I realized. So the important part of this is you've all been dealt a hand. How are you going to play it? And that's up to you, 100% up to you. Life is a journey, and it's made up of a series of choices. Some trivial, what am I going to have for lunch today? Some big, am I going to quit my job and start a company? Which school am I going to go to? Am I going to marry this individual? There's some choices that are big choices, but it's a series of choices. And you are responsible for your own existence. We live in a society where everything is somebody else's fault. And I'm telling you right now, if 50 years from now, you've lived out all your dreams and you're living a wonderful life, it's because you made good choices. And if the opposite is true, if you're sitting by yourself and it just didn't go the way you wanted, that's also on you. So you're dealt a hand, turn it into a winning hand. To take all the gifts you have, each one of you has a talent. Each one of you has gifts. Each one of you has a cross to bear too, right? Everybody's dealing with something, but you also have a lot of things going on that are good. I used to tell my daughters all the time when something didn't go right when they're kids, your worst day on this planet is better than some kid's best day. And I must have said that enough times because my daughters routinely use my own one-liners back on me. So they've sunk in through repetition, thousands of times. So life is a journey made up of a series of choices. Play the hand you got and turn it into a winning hand. Don't compare yourself to others, give grace to others. The problem I had when I was a kid, as it pertains to my father, is I never thought for a second, because when you're 8 years old, you just want to do Matchbox car, you don't think this way. I never thought for a second, maybe he's dealing with something. Maybe he's not giving me $1 for the movies because he doesn't have $1. I just looked at it as he's just a mean dad. In hindsight, I realize now, because I'm an adult, and I've had the chance to forgive and change perspective, he did the best he could as the father of 6 kids to raise us and educate us and make sure we knew right from wrong. And if the goal of a parent is to prepare your kids for the real world, my dad gets a gold star and an A+, my mother is gold. Didn't give me stuff, didn't give me a new car on my 16th birthday, didn't give me any car, or even a bicycle, but I got the more important stuff. Give grace. We're judging people. We let ourselves off the hook and we'll blame somebody else. Flip that. Give grace to others. Don't be the victim, be accountable. Like I said, if you find yourself years from now in a very happy, successful place, it's because you held yourself accountable. Think about one of the topics, and please connect. If you're on LinkedIn, send me a LinkedIn invite. And look back, I think it was in May. I put up a LinkedIn post. And I'll share a photo from that post. It's coming up in the slide or two. That post got over 9,000 views. It talks about the journey of my 4 daughters and them going to school. I made a deal with them. I'll kind of give you the crib notes version of what that post was about. I told them you could pick any college you want, anywhere in the world. To start, they all wanted to go to college. Because tech school's great, military is great, you don't have to go to college to be successful, but they all wanted to go to college based on their life's journey. I said you could pick any college, anywhere in the world. They're ready to get excited about it. However, you have to come up with 1/3 of the cost of that school. Tuition, books, living expense, meal plan, whatever it is, in cash before the semester starts, for that particular semester. So it forced them, they got pulled into this now. They're now accountable, so they started doing research, looking at schools, looking at costs, looking at quality of education, looking at, am I gonna be able to get a job in this profession? And it did a lot of other things. They all worked in high school. They all saved money. They set goals. My oldest daughter, Shay, she did good. Next daughter, Kylie, did even better. They all learned from each other. Shelby was the fourth, the youngest. She finished school in 3 years with a double major because she had 1/3 of the cost. She figured, if I get done a year sooner, that's a year I can start working, it's less money I gotta spend. That's accountability, skin in the game. So now let me tie this into society. So let's just say hypothetically, Shelby took out a student loan. If the deal was she took out a student loan, and she made a bad school choice, or she made a bad major choice, or she didn't really focus and apply herself in school. There is no, because I'm accountable and Shelby's accountable, there is no mathematical scenario I would ask any other person on this planet to pay for her student loan. They'd never do it. Our society has lost accountability. People are responsible for themselves. JFK, who was a Democrat, said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. It's a statement of accountability. Somewhere in my lifetime that got lost. You are responsible for yourself. Gratitude and humility. Those two things go together. When I was younger, I probably wasn't the most humble guy. I was probably a little bit too braggadocious about some of the gifts that I had. That's not a very endearing quality at all. Showing empathy, perspective, being grateful, being humble, that is much more endearing. It took me many years to kind of connect the dots and figure those things out. That's why I love to come to speak to the business world participants. You guys are young, you still got a chance. Some of the older folks, maybe not. That was a joke, by the way. You guys are too early on market. Maybe this is just too deep. But the common denominator in all this is you. It's you. It's up to you, right? It's not anybody else's fault. And if you do really good, you can take credit for that too, in a humble way. So this is a picture of, see this little guy, I think my diaper's full, by the way. This is the 6 kids. I'm the youngest of 6, as I said. My brother, my sister Donna, sister Linda, sister Maylin, my sister Stephanie, and myself. This is 50 plus years ago. I won't tell you the exact year, but it was quite a long time ago. And you see we're all sitting on a concrete step. We're sitting on the step of this house. This picture I took in March, because I shared with you, my father passed away. We're kids, now we all own the house, we're rehabilitating it. So that's where I'll sit, right? On that step. 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom home. The 6 of us lived in the attic. It wasn't even really bedrooms. I was bitter. Why do my friends have their own room? Why do they even have a room? Why can't they walk? We didn't have a television in our room. We were all these restrictions. I was mad, I was angry. But as I told you, I got past it. I changed my perspective. It is all about perspective. It's your choice on how you want to look at something. We've all heard the saying, the glass half full, silver lining. It's true. There's something good in everything, I guarantee you. So dream big, take chances, maximize time, be accountable. Governor Walker, for those of you who remember Governor Walker, he ran for president. I think this is 2015-ish, 2015, 2016, he ran for president. When he withdrew from the presidential race, it was a Monday, big public announcement. Scott Walker was also presidential race. He made his first public appearance 4 days later on Friday. At the company I was the president, the scheduler calls me on Tuesday. We were having a company event, and I invited the governor. So I had this opportunity to speak to the media, like every TV station in the state, for about 7-8 minutes before I introduced the governor. And I think back to this little kid sitting on the step with this bitterness and this lot in life. But dreaming big, it's like, how does this happen? I've had a lot of moments in my life where it's like, how the heck did this happen? But there's been common themes. I took responsibility for my own existence. I want you to do the same thing. I dreamed big, I took chances. Our current governor, Tony Evers, before being governor, there's Tony right there. I think you guys will see Kurt Bauer this week, I would think so. CEO of WMC. So before Governor Evers was governor, he was our superintendent of public instruction. In that role, Superintendent Evers had asked me to present, Wisconsin was competing with 24 other states for grant money. He had asked if I would be the person to present on behalf of the state of Wisconsin. So Governor Evers, Superintendent Evers, we went out to Washington, D.C. I gave a presentation, like speaking to people, and the state of Wisconsin won $2 million grant money towards education reform. This was the precedent at the company I was president of at the time. Never would have thought that was possible when I was a kid. It's too bitter to think that was possible. And 3 months into his presidency, President Trump, Vice President Pence, were sitting in the Roosevelt room, 2 seats down from the president, across the table from the vice president, talking about regulations and policies that affect manufacturing. How the heck did this happen? Didn't see that one. Had a chance to testify to Congress on the same topic. You know, the role of government in commerce. I'll tell you one thing, you guys are all very lucky in one simple thing, a lot of things, but this in particular. By the end of this summer camp for Business World, you will know more about how free markets work than a lot of politicians in Washington, D.C. So you got that going. But how government, the purpose of government in business, I like using an analogy. A greenhouse does not grow anything. Soil, seed, water grow things. Greenhouse provides an environment for growth. That should be the role of government, to provide a great environment for free market growth. Private sector is what grows the economy. Government doesn't create jobs. Government can create an environment where jobs happen, like a greenhouse. You know, and if you think about that greenhouse analogy this week as you listen to the speakers, I think you might find a common theme. This is the true life success, really. This is the picture that I put on LinkedIn a month or so ago. My 4 daughters, all graduating from college, all having bachelor's degree, none of them with student loan debt. They were accountable. I participated in that.
I found this on the web.
Siri's listening in. I participated in that, but I didn't go to class for them. I didn't do the work. Well, I might help with some stuff, but I didn't actually do any of their schoolwork. I didn't go to any of the lectures. They did the work. They had to. Partially because I pushed them, and at some point I stopped pushing because they're no longer there. They took over themselves a long time ago. They were accountable. They didn't have a choice. And then the rest of my family, my wife and my 2 stepsons. So that is my true life success. I ain't gonna lie, sitting in the Roosevelt room with the president, vice president is pretty cool. But this is my true success, is my family. So this is my advice to each of you. Pick any of them, pick all of them. I suggest you pick all of them. Dream big, take chances, be grateful for your circumstance, the hand you've been dealt. Use your time wisely. Adjust your perspective, and most importantly, hold yourself accountable. If your life plays out phenomenally, it's because of you. And if it doesn't, it's because of you. So, I'll stop there. Shelby, you can stop recording.